with the first pick in the NFL draft.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Draft Show. We are starting the draft process off with a mock draft R1.0 before we start our player profiles. Adam, I've been buzzing to get talking about the rookies and the draft and the combine and everything to do with this. Been waiting for it. Super Bowl's now out of the way. Are you buzzing and ready for it as well?
Yes, thankfully that Super Bowl was done. What a depressing game that was. The Eagles
You
destroyed
enjoyed the halftime show though, didn't you?
Oh, that was even better. That was amazing. Yes. How can I put this? No. So yeah, not fantastic. Didn't even win any money. What was the point? The whole night, might as well not bothered. But we're into the best bit now. We're into the draft talk, and that is what we want to do. So yeah, nice. Our first mock draft for you all is what we're going to go for, and should be interesting to see, because obviously I'm very much watch them after the season's done, look at the tape kind of guy, because I'm dealing with all the NFL stuff. You are very much actually watch the college games. So I do feel like we sometimes come out from different sort of thought processes, which is a good thing, I think.
I think we come from different thought processes. I think I'm maybe hindered slightly because I watch it. So in my head, I've got players that I've been watching that have been in college for like 2, 3, 4 years. And I'm like, oh yeah, but that season they were amazing and they were incredible. And then this season there was a slight drop off, and you just solely watch, right? This is the select ones that coming in. I'm watching their tape. I've seen all the best bits and all the negatives, and that's it. Whereas I've got a bit of bias of like, if there was a player that I really liked in 2023 and they're in this, I'm like, wow, I've still got to really like them. So I think that's where we differ slightly, and I've got a bit of
Also, I'm not a big school snob. You know, that's the other thing. You get all like, oh, Alabama and Georgia, and I go, there's some good guys out here. They just, they haven't played the top teams, but they're still worthy of a first round pick. Mike Green.
Yeah,
so
we had Quinion Mitchell last year. He wasn't at the top of my board, and then I got to watch him play at the Senior Bowl, and he was phenomenal. So I saw him go up against the bigger guys, and I was like, "Yep, I'm confident he'll be great in the NFL." And he moved up our board as well as everybody else's. So there's room for those guys to impress me and show me that they can go up against these guys. But yeah, you're right. I do tend to watch a lot more of the Power 4 conference teams and home in on them, because they're going up every week against players that are going to be in the NFL, rather than some of the smaller guys that will, where did we go wrong? Carson Wentz, he was from a smaller school. That didn't.
I mean, to a certain extent, look at who's just won the Super Bowl and how many of them players have come from like the likes of Georgia and Alabama and the bigger schools. So it does make sense. Obviously, if you are going up against that competition already, then there is a theory where they should do well and have proven to do well as well. So I get it. But
the Eagles.
There's some good guys in smaller schools as well.
The Eagles famously went for the smaller school wide receiver once when they picked Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. And then they never made that mistake again, did they? Because they literally just picked people from Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, so, exactly.
It is what it is, but there's definitely some players in here to talk about. So let's get right into it. We're going to do alternate picks. We're going to pick them together. What's your feeling about this?
What do you want? Do you want one? Do you want to, are you odd or are you even? I mean, I'd argue you're odd, but that's a whole different conversation. I mean, so.
Well, the Giants are pick 3.
Right. Do you want to pick for the Giants? I'm quite happy to let you pick for the Giants.
Pick for the Giants. But I'll let you overrule me on picks. If you can pipe up and give me a good enough reason of why I'm wrong, then I will let you overrule me. But we'll jump straight into it.
I'm pretty good at that, so that should be all right. So
Tennessee, there's I shouldn't have gone pick one because I don't want this pick. Why did I do? They could go anywhere, couldn't they, with this pick? There's a lot of talk.
What do you think about the potential for them trading back? Because there has been reports that have come out recently saying that they're open to everything now. That first it was very much it's going to be Cam Ward, we would need a quarterback. Now it's like we're open to doing anything. And, obviously the conversation regarding the quarterbacks this year are that they are maybe not of the standard that we have seen in previous years. There are going to be some guys that are going to be available to bring in, someone like Sam Darnold, potentially. Aaron Rodgers has just, the Jets have said that they're going away from him. So if he wants to play, there's going to be some guys out there that they can go for. So, the idea of trading back might be appealing so they can get more picks.
Yeah, I've definitely ummed and ahed with that. This is what I said to you about me not wanting this pickup, because I think Aaron Rodgers does fit quite nicely to go there. They're going to be able to have a stab on him. I can't, who wouldn't want to live in Nashville? It's a nice place, isn't it, to live? He might want to.
Well, he's got a house in Tennessee, hasn't he, as well?
So he might want to go there. So that would fit nicely for him. And then they can trade, like you say, trade back from that, pick up loads of picks, and really rebuild that roster a lot better. I think that scenario is where I might go down the line of things later on. But for this one, they need a quarterback. It is quarterback that they need. So I'm just going to put Cam Ward, who seems to be the right fit for them, I think, in terms of tools and skill set and the way he plays. So, and I think he's now pushed himself into the sense as number one quarterback, because there is a few question marks over Shedeur Sanders, despite the fact I think he's extremely talented. Ward seems to be the one. So I'm going to put Ward in for them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's like they need a quarterback, don't they? So that's perfectly good. Number 2, I have got Cleveland Browns. So this is a team that's got loads of holes on it, and obviously quarterback is a need. However, I feel like you're going to see a few teams here that are going to sort of decide against going quarterback, despite the fact that you could argue that they need one. There's already been a lot of talk, hasn't there, about the 26 class and how amazing that is at quarterback. And so it feels like a lot of teams might go, we're going to find a bridge guy in order to be able to do this. I think that's something that Cleveland will probably do, and I think it's someone you could argue they've already got the guy in the building with Jameis Winston if they wanted to for another season. So I don't think they go quarterback. Personally, I think they need a running back, but that's something they can do later. Given the position that they're in here, I think you go for who I would argue is the best player of the whole draft, and that is Abdul Carter. Now, there's lots of talk regarding Myles Garrett about him wanting to leave. If that's the case and you trade him away and bring in a load more picks, Abdul Carter is someone who can be the replacement for him and hopefully get to that sort of status in time. And actually, you could argue it's probably the right thing for them to do to get younger and then sort of do that. But even if they don't give up Myles Garrett stays there. The idea of having Myles Garrett on one side and Abdul Carter on the other is probably going to be pretty good for a defense that is going to need to be decent in order for them to be able to do anything next season. So I like Abdul Carter. I think, as I say, I think he's the best player in the draft. And if it was me, I'd have him go number 1. But
I think that could be. I think that could massively be the pick. Like I said, they bring in Aaron Rodgers, they take Carter, or they trade out of it. So that could be where you went with Tennessee if you weren't doing trades. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer for them to now trade Myles Garrett, give him what he wants, be amicable. He's been there for a long time now. Let him go, get the haul, because it's going to be at least 2 firsts in there, I would have thought, maybe, for Myles Garrett. He's arguably the best edge rusher in him and TJ Watt. I know age might not be on his side like Parsons, but he's another class to Parsons for me. So yeah, get the haul for Garrett and bring in a person who can like for like replace him on paper. So Abdul Carter would be the pick for me as well. Oh, I got the New York Giants. It's a real tough one because I've kind of in my head bought into Jackson Dart. I really like the idea of him being on the team. I just don't think we can go here because I like the idea of picking someone else at this point and then taking Dart later. I'm just not sure whether he's going to be available. There's lots of talk about him sneaking into the first round now and him possibly being the quarterback 3, even 2 for this draft. But with that said, you can't really look at this as a pick for Daboll and Schoen as how can we build the team for the future, because they've got this 1 year. If they don't get it right this year, they're both out and it's rebuild for the future for the next person, which might have a completely different mindset to what these guys had. So they've got to go quarterback with this pick if this is what's available. And I think if you don't go Sanders and you went someone else and Sanders turned out to be incredible, you kick yourself. So I think you've got to take the punt on him of him being the high ceiling you got. Look, he's accurate. He's good. And for me, he's played a lot under pressure. He's a tough kid. And he interviews well, which he did at the Senior Bowl, which I think weighs a lot in credit for quarterbacks. Those high intelligence, interview well quarterbacks. I said it about Joe Burrow. He's been likened to Joe Burrow's skill set as well. So, hasn't got the elite arm, but it's accurate. He's good. He makes good decisions. So he puts the ball in good places for his wide receivers. I think they've got to take the punt on him and see if it works. And I think Malik Neighbors is really, really keen on him. I've seen them throwing the ball around together. So I think that's key, keeping Neighbors happy as well. So I go Shedeur Sanders here as the pick, just because it feels like the right pick to make, just in case. I don't think anyone's going to say to the Giants, you should have picked someone else instead because he wasn't the right one, where you could say that about the others. So I think Sanders is the one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan, but I get it. And also I kind of get the situation that the Giants are in. It's a bit of a difficult position that they find themselves in, where it feels very much that they have to go quarterback. That just the idea of not going quarterback at pick 3 feels very strange when you think that you've got a head coach and a general manager who were both, there was a lot of conversation about whether or not they were going to be around for next season. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of feels like they have to pick their guy, and it just feels unfortunate that it's happened to have fallen on a year when the quarterbacks I don't think are particularly great, but I don't think they could not take a quarterback and then be around next year.
Yeah, you can't say I'm building for the future, have a bad season, and not expect to be fired. So, and they've never had the chance to pick their own quarterback. I don't think there's good enough guys within free agency. I don't think Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers. I do like Justin Fields, but equally, you're going to get the same from that. I would probably bring Shedeur and Justin Fields both into the building. But I don't think I think, again, you bring any of them in, it's a year to build and go for next year. So you're going to be sacked. So that's what I've gone for.
Yeah, I think you're right. So number 4, we've got the New England Patriots. Loads of holes on this team. There's lots of different places you can go. I think on the O-line is really significant. They need to do something for the O-line, but there isn't really anyone that I would have as like the number 4 pick for the O-line. I think you could argue Will Campbell, but it's not. I don't know. I think you'll be able to find guys later on in the draft that can do something. And also, I think when we looked at them, when we did the team episodes that we did regarding the Patriots, we did say there are a lot of O-line guys that are going to be available in free agency. So I think that they can sort that problem out because they've got a lot of money. I'm going to go for who I think is probably best player available here, Travis Hunter for me. I think a lot of people are going to want Travis Hunter on their team, not just because, I mean, I have him down as a corner. I have to say that's where I would argue his best thing is going to be. He will probably want to play, well, he'll probably want to play both, to be honest. But
He said he's wanting to play both.
I think I get the feeling that he will be a full-time corner and a part-time wide receiver that will be able to come in on certain plays. So I think that is what will happen. Kind of killing two birds with one stone by doing that. So I think that helps for a team with a lot of holes. Wide receiver is something that they need, and I think he's definitely going to be something different that they don't have at wide receiver. And then because he can play corner, you can have Christian Gonzalez on one side, him on the other. So I think that makes a ton of sense as well. The only other person I did sort of think of was Ted McMillan, just because he, again, is a different type of wide receiver that they haven't got. But I do feel like because this team just has so many problems that by getting a guy in who can play in two positions and play it well, I think that's probably the way forward for them.
Yeah, as you said, they've got a lot of money to spend. They can, I think they easily try and bring in a T. Higgins or a Deebo Samuel or DK Metcalf said he won't go there. But, they can go out and get themselves a stud wide receiver, which means Travis Hunter will be the perfect landing spot for these because, as you say, they've got Christian Gonzalez. So he's only asking to be cornerback 2. If they go out and get a stud at wide receiver, he's going to be asked to be wide receiver 2 or 3 on the depth chart. So he's going to be able to play both ways. You're going to be able to play into his skill set. So I think that's the perfect landing spot for him to get the best out of what he does. I've got Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this is a fairly easy pick. I think they've been screaming out for this for quite a while. It's not the suggested pick. I think they need cornerbacks still. I think we've always said that this has been an area that they need. It's where they keep getting beat. There was a lot of games I saw this season where they were in the game, they were in the lead in the game, they were winning game, and they just kept getting beaten and letting teams back into the game by getting beaten over the top. So there's an argument to be made that Will Johnson's the best cornerback within this draft class. And they've already got Campbell on the other side. So I think that really solidifies that, means that they can sort of lock down those wide receivers and maybe put a bit more pressure on the quarterback and get the best out of the defense there and build elsewhere afterwards. So I think cornerback is the right choice for them, despite they think D-line might be the option for them. What's your thoughts? Do you think I'm right?
Yeah, I had D-line down for him. I felt like Mason Graham was the way forward for them to go. However, I do remember, and so I don't think you're wrong here. I think it's kind of it's one or the other. I remember during the season, especially when they came over to London, we were saying quite a lot, they've got Campbell at cornerback and nothing else. And so it does kind of feel like that was a problem. They were playing the Bears, weren't they? And it was quite noticeable how the one thing with the Bears that a lot of people were saying all the time was how if you got pressure on their O-line, it would crumble. And then Caleb didn't have the time, did he? That was basically what stopped them from being able to do anything. But when they played the Jags over here, it was like he had all the time in the world and he was really, really good. And it meant that he literally was just popping balls over and the corners still couldn't do anything about it. So I think it is very much like getting pressure on the opposition quarterbacks. They do need a bit more with D-line, especially like interior, I think is what they need. But at the same time, corner, yeah, they've got Campbell. He's decent. There's not a lot else.
There's some, although Mason Graham is a cut above the rest and he is incredible, there's some very, very good interior defensive linemen in this draft. And I think Will Johnson is just, like I say, he could be arguably the best cornerback in this draft. So I think they can wait on the D line and get someone else, but you're not getting Will Johnson at the top of the second. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so I have got the Raiders at number 6. Who's Tom Brady going to pick? Let's try and work this one out.
You've heard my theory for it.
Well, we'll listen to that in a minute. So for me, I think, look, QB is an obvious need for them. They can't go in with Gardner Minshew and Hayden O'Connell, isn't it? I think is still there. They can't go in with them two. They need to bring someone in. However, personally, I think they will go free agency with that. I think that's quite a strong one. Where I feel like I know that Rodgers is rumored to be going there. It's quite a big one for the Raiders, which would be weird because does that mean Devontae Adams goes back? So that would be a bit strange.
I could see. We've spoke about this before because I could see him happily going back because he seemed quite happy there until they weren't helping him. You know, they weren't helping him progress or get better.
Well, he was happy when Derek Carr was there. Then they took Derek Carr away, and he kind of felt like they weren't doing anything to help him. I suppose is what you're saying. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. I think running back is a need. Quite a big need here, and a lot of people have got Genty for the Cowboys. I mean, it really wouldn't shock me if the Raiders did go for it because they do need a strong running back. But at the same time, you know, you've got lots of running backs in this class. So you don't need to go running back. Wide receiver, but as we've just said, you could go for someone like Devontae Adams, could go back, so you never know. But wide receiver is there that they could go for. And actually, my other one was, and you've kind of messed it up a bit, is corner. Because to me, it felt like Will Johnson was the right place to go. Mason Graham's really good. I just don't think it's a desperate need for them.
No, they addressed that last season, didn't they?
Yeah, when they brought in Christian Wilkins. So I feel like their D-line is okay. I think because of all of that, I see a world in which Brady does bring Rodgers in for a year. They do go and get Devontae Adams as well.
There's a lot of
Darnold. I mean, and also at quarterback, we have said, haven't we, previously, like not recorded, but we've said, you know, with Chip Kelly being there now,
Will Howard.
It feels like Will Howard would make sense as someone who could sit behind someone. So he wouldn't, you know, so I feel like they're not going to do that. It feels to me their biggest need is running back. And
mine was I think that this draft really lacks high-end wide receivers. So in my head, I was like, wide receiver first, running back second.
It does, but the thing is,
and Will Howard. But
I mean, I get that. So basically, your point is go for Ted McMillan.
That's what I would personally do.
Yeah, so I understand that as a theory, and I think that's the sensible thing to do. We're talking about the Raiders, okay? So we're not, you know. I don't know. There's just a part of me thinks they go for Genty.
Equally, you could do it the other way around. There would be no harm in doing it. If you are real high on Genty and think he can turn your franchise around, and you go Genty, you could equally get a Trey Harris. You know, in the pick that I was on about getting a running back. So it swings and roundabouts there, but they definitely need to. They've got Brock Bowers, so they definitely need to just get as many weapons as possible on that offense now, and then they can sort the defense later on.
I'm going Genty.
Yep, I've got no issues with that, mate. I've got no issues.
The Cowboys fans might.
Well, will they? Because, you know, we've still got McMillan on there, and wide receivers.
I have to say though, the Cowboys, there seems to be this almost he's definitely going to end up at the Cowboys sort of theory. And I understand the logic behind it. I don't actually think it helps them. I think that they've got quite a few pieces they need to get. And so the idea of bringing in Genti just doesn't make it all okay.
No, it's as we've said as well, it's a strong running back class. If they want, they can double dip in later rounds if they want and strengthen it. They will do, but they've got super. I'm sure we'll talk about them when we get there. Jets. I think the Jets is a really tough pick. I wouldn't really know where to go with it massively, other than the fact I know that. Garrett Wilson's requested a trade. He wants to leave. Devontae Adams won't be coming back. He'll probably get cut. Aaron Rodgers has said he's not coming back, so they don't have a quarterback, unless you think Jordan Travis is going to come in and be fit and healthy and play like he did at FSU. But he is a bit small for the NFL, I think. But do they need D-line? Mason Graham's still there. Do they need O-line? Yes, they always need O-line. I know they've got they've brought in some nice bits, haven't they? Olu Fashanu, Elijah Vera Tucker's a good piece. You're going to have to help me with this one because I really don't know where to go for the Jets because there's too many options for me that I love. Mason Graham's hard to turn down. Will Campbell's still there, and Ted McMillan's still there. So I think they would want all three of them a lot. What's your thoughts?
So I think Garrett Wilson stays. The biggest issue with Garrett Wilson is the fact that he basically felt like he wasn't being used. And that was predominantly because Aaron Rodgers was just throwing the ball to Devontae Adams. Well, Rodgers has gone. I think that it probably 99% chance means that Adams has gone as well. So I think Garrett Wilson is now the guy. Even if you brought in Ted McMillan, I still think Garrett Wilson would be the guy because he would be the rookie. So I think they need a wide receiver because the other thing, of course, is Alan Lazard will probably go as well. So I think they are very short of wide receiver, as you said, and I think Garrett Wilson stays now. I think is probably what we're dealing with. Defensively, they have got a lot of names, but they didn't play very well. But it all kind of fell away once Robert Saleh went, wasn't it? And that was the problem. So I personally think that you've got Garrett Wilson, but you've got no Devontae Adams, no Alan Lazard. You're basically going in with Malachi Corley did what? Next to nothing, really.
Yeah,
right. Xavier Gipson.
He was all right. Better on
the rest are like no one on the rest has done anything. So, and also the other thing is Tyler Conklin has been an okay piece, but I'm pretty confident he's a free agent this season and he's not anything special. I know they can get a tight end later on, but there just is a lack of receiving options. So to me, I feel like wide receiver is maybe slightly more important for them.
Do you think are you happy with their O-line?
I wouldn't say I'm happy with it. Let me have a quick look. Yeah, they're not. They've got a little bit of cap space, so they could bring in some guys if they wanted to. It's not bad. I mean, I think obviously Vera Tucker's good. I think Morgan Moses is solid. Titman's okay.
Are Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith both free agents? Are they?
Morgan, let me have a look. Morgan Moses. Pretty certain Tyrone Smith is. But yeah, I mean, I just think that they're. I get your point. I don't feel like O-line is where. I think they desperately need a receiver. They basically got Garrett Wilson.
Let's get it in just in case, because I like them tapping you guys up in Green Bay and saying, look, we'll give you Garrett Wilson if you give us Wicks and Musgrave and ticking two boxes with that. So, but let's get it in because they do need another one. You can't just roll around with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and go, yeah, everything's fine on offense.
Because the other thing is, if they were to do that, like you say, if they were to go and trade and get two guys in and take Garrett Wilson out, they still need a wide receiver.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah. Carolina Panthers. Right. Well, thank you for taking wide receiver because I don't think this is particularly hard. I'll have Mason Graham, please. I think D-line is to be honest, I think the defense in general is what they need. They got a lot of holes. They do need a little bit more help on the offense as well, but there isn't really anyone that I would have above the likes of Mason Graham. And yeah, I best player on the board, and they need it. So yeah,
I've got the Saints. Where do you start? Where do you start with the Saints? They've got another team with a lot of holes. Another team with a lot of needs. I think edge has been the pick I've seen most for them. But I'm just trying to work out whether that is where they definitely need. O-line is okay, isn't it? They got Fuanga, who was good. Trevor Penning's not been great, but there's room for him to improve. I think that I'm not sure whether going O-line really helps them, and they're going to lose loads of people on that defense, and it's aging as well, isn't it? You were on about the fact that they were going to have to hope that Cam Jordan retires, was it? And
it was Cam Jordan to retire, Ramczyk to retire, Derek Carr to be traded. It was insane when we went through the team and the cap space problems that they have. It's very much a case of they're the two that need to retire, and then Derek Carr to be traded, and then anyone who was kind of like a veteran that you could sort of readjust their contracts and do something with in order to be able to make a difference. So yeah, I mean, they've got quite a lot of free agents as well. When you're talking about the D-line, Chase Young is a free agent, Peyton Turner is a free agent. They're all
lots of talk that Chase Young is definitely not going to be there. I think they go edge rusher. I think it's not there's some guys in here that are good enough to go at this position as well. I think I've seen Michael Williams drafted here an awful lot, but it wouldn't be the guy that I particularly go with because I've had James Pierce hovered around my sort of just around Abdul Carter for a little bit, but Abdul Carter just went off on one and been that good. But James Pierce for me going into the season he could be my number one. So I'd rather go him over Michael Williams, who I've still got some question marks over, despite the fact he's from a big school and a very good player. So I'm going to take James Pierce at this point.
Yeah, I like it. I think James Pierce is a really good edge rusher. He's very solid. He can do everything that you need him to do. I don't think he's necessarily special, but I think he's very solid, and he'll be a really good selection for them. I have got the Chicago Bears. What a treat for a Green Bay Packers fan to be in charge.
How's Will Campbell still there at pick 10?
Yeah, it's a bit mental. However, I've got the Chicago Bears, and their O-line is appalling. So I've got, for me, there are a couple of other places you could go. I think edge is somewhere that you could look at. I think running back is something that they need to do. But again, we'll do that later on in the draft. Center, corner, center guard, I think are the real things that they need to look at, especially guard. Will Campbell, best O-line guy. We'll have him.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I think you could play him anywhere on that O-line and he'd be special. I still think he'd be good at tackle, but if his best position's guard, they're desperate for for one at the Bears, so that's fine. That leaves me with the 49ers. Another team. I keep getting these teams that sort of there's not a standout position that they desperately need. I think maybe if Banks is still there, we know that they're going to at some point have to address tackle. Is this? Would you say this is a bit of a luxury pick, or do you think there's an area that they really need to address after their down year with injuries?
I don't think there's anywhere specifically. This is what you would, just as you said, it feels like it is a bit of a luxury pick, and the reason that they've ended up where they've ended up is because of all these injuries. It is McCaffrey, it is Debo that has struggled, it is Trent Williams that has been out for quite a lot. These are the reasons why they've ended up where they've ended up, and so there isn't really what feels like a massive gaping hole in this team. You could argue wide receiver if Debo's going, but I feel like to do that this early feels a little bit something that you wouldn't go for. To me, I think they probably need to look at their O-line.
I think
a little bit.
I'm just worried that Trent Williams is 36 now.
And
at some point he's gonna say I'm done. And when are they going to be in a position to get someone to replace him? And with Kelvin Banks on the board, I think that this might be the nice luxury pick that they can to strengthen that O-line. You know, their run game and protecting Purdy and giving him time to throw is their whole game plan, isn't it, really? If that falls out, then they're lost. So the trenches is going to be good for them.
Yeah, they have got a ton of free agents as well. They've got 31 free agents. Aaron Banks is one of them. John Feliciano is one of them, a couple of guards. So, yeah, if you've got both of them as free agents and you've got the concern regarding Trent Williams as well, then it does feel like it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's solidified for me. It's Kelvin Banks for them.
So,
Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys, what a treat. As we were saying, running back is a huge need for them, but I just don't think that you go for it here. You don't need to. That you can now. I think it was a case if Genty was there, you take him. He's not, so you wait until the next round and go for someone else. Wide receiver, I think, is a bit of an issue as well. They could go for someone like Luther Burden, which I think
Luther Burden would complement CeeDee Lamb excellently.
Yeah, so it's not a bad idea.
Do you think they keep hold of Parsons? Do you think they trade him? Do you think they let him go? Do you think they re-sign him?
I think they keep him. I would be surprised if he goes anywhere, but I do feel like they need, that defense does need help. Edge rusher, I think, is somewhere that they need to be looking. But I also think tackle. It's a funny one with the Cowboys. They've really not had a particularly good season, and they do have a lot of holes, as we were saying. So I think you could go in many different places. So to me, it feels like you're almost looking at best player available to a certain extent, and apart from Malachi Starks, because you don't really need a safety, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I have to say, I'm not sure with the Cowboys. I always feel like they want to go for the flashy pick. I've always felt that with them, and more often than not, they always want to go for an offensive flashy pick as well. I just don't think they go for Luther Burden. I don't think they look at wide receiver. I think they're going to go for the flashy pick on the O-line, and they're going to try and help to keep Dak upright. I think that's what they're going to think is the way forward. And to me, the flashy pick is Armand Membo from Missouri. I think that's the guy that they go for, where he is an absolute beast of a guy. And I know that there's other tackles before him in the lists of
Are you looking for him to play? Are you looking for them to take a tackle, or just need someone on the O line?
I genuinely don't think it actually matters.
Okay, because I think Membo might move to guard. I think Josh Simmons is a special talent at tackle.
Yeah, I think that he might move to, like, I agree with you. I think that he may be. I get the feeling with Membu that he could be really, really something special at guard, or he could be okay, like solid at tackle. Is how I look at him. So I really think that guard would be where he would be going. Zach Martin is a free agent as well, and it's about, do you really want to be spending loads of money bringing him back? So for me, I think Membu is really a cut above.
Do you not think they've spent a lot of picks on O-line recently with Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe? Do you not think they've addressed it? Do you honestly think they'll just keep rolling the dice on that?
Did you watch them this season?
Yeah, I think Tyler Guyton was the wrong pick.
Yeah, I think they almost feel like they have to, because it's not working, is it? You know, it's like look at where they're picking.
I just can't see them not taking either a wide receiver or a running back. I can't see it, but it's your pick.
But can you? I mean, which running back? I mean, I assume the theory is Amari Hampton.
I think Amari Hampton is round one worthy. I think he's good enough to be selected in round one.
I think he is. I don't think he's this early though.
Well, if you need him,
I know if you want him, you have to.
He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. They're completely different styles of running back, but. Yeah. You know, he was the second running back taken, and everyone said they've taken him too early, but they needed him and they took him and they liked him. I also really am worried that they might take Emeka Egbuka as well at this point, possibly. You know, a lot of people saying he's better than JSN. You know, he's from that Ohio State team with Heartline, who their players just get route running and separation. So it's I'm very worried that they might take him instead of Burden.
I mean, I'm very happy for them to go wide receiver, or like I say, they've got loads of needs. I just kind of get the feeling they're going to keep going down the same route, and they need to sort that out.
Sure pick. I've got the Miami Dolphins. Let's get all back on. I think it's. Do we know what's going on with Tyreek Hill? He's requested out.
He's no, he's staying.
He wants back in.
He's kissed and made up with the team. Apparently, he was on Radio Row, and I saw him being interviewed. I think it was on Pro Football Talk, and he was on Radio Row, and he came out and said he apologised and how it was what he had done was wrong, and that he wants to go back and he wants to carry on playing for him. So it looks like he's going to be at the Dolphins for the foreseeable.
Well, that means they don't need to go anywhere near offense. I think they're sorted fine at quarterback. I think they need to just bring someone in to back up. That's a good backup. Fine at running back, fine at wide receiver. Tight end is not a problem, as we saw last year. So the defense is where it all started to fall apart for me last year. I know I've said numerous times that I think last year I watched it and there was a lot of Chop Robinson. Go on, what's wrong with you?
Sorry, do we not feel that we need to protect Tua at all possible times?
Well, that as well. I don't.
Just sort of throw that out there.
I don't think their O-line was particularly bad. I think they've got some really nice pieces on that O-line. I think Armstead's fine. I think Wynn's fine. Austin Jackson is really good. They got Liam Eichberg.
Just saying. You know.
I just personally thought that the defense are going to be losing a load of people in free agency again. It was Chop Robinson and no one else. I know Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb were both injured. I think they're losing virtually everybody in the secondary bar the cornerback. So they're going to really, really struggle at safety if Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland are out the door. It's a lot of people on defense that's going. I think they definitely need to go defense. They can get another O-lineman later in the draft. So it's just whether they go edge or safety here. Starks is an unbelievable talent. And I do think if they're going to let both their safeties walk out the door, we've seen what a difference a safety can make in when you look at the likes of Kyle Hamilton and what he's done and does for the Baltimore Ravens, that this isn't a pick to be sort of put to the side and thought about later. You can get some really talented people that really change your defense. Like I said, they have got edge rushers, got Bradley Chubb, they've got Jalen Phillips, got Chop Robinson, but injuries has helped them. I think Starks might be the pick, looking at the board.
Yeah, so they've got Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer are free agents. So is Elijah Campbell actually at safety. So yeah, it is a position that they desperately need to sort out. They are minus 17 million in cap space, so bringing people in could be difficult. They need to get younger and cheaper, and I would probably argue that Malachi Starks is the best player still on the board. So it kind of all makes sense.
That's where I'd go if this is the board, but I wouldn't be shocked if they went for a Jalen Walker who can play edge and linebacker. That might be something they look at, but I'm looking in Starks. You've got the Indianapolis Colts, and the perfect person's left for them on the board that I'm sure you're going to hopefully argue for.
I believe they need a tight end, and Tyler Warren is right there. So we will have him. I don't need to argue. We'll just take him.
Yeah, it hasn't really worked out for Jelani Woods, has it?
It hasn't really worked out for any of the tight ends, to be honest. Mo Ali Cox, it didn't really work out for. Who else did they have there at tight end? That's someone else.
They had Mo Ali Cox, they had Jelani Woods, and Granderson. Was it Granderson?
That's it, Kyle Granson. Yeah, hasn't really done anything. Wide receiver, they don't really have a big need for. They've got Michael Pittman and some others who are decent. Running back obviously is good with Jonathan Taylor. The O-line's not too bad as well. They probably need a quarterback, but they'll just carry on with Anthony Richardson. So I think and then the defense does need some help. I do think edge rusher actually is something that they could do with, and like defensive backs, corners, they were being beaten over the top all the time. However, tight end is a big issue, and yeah, Tyler Warren could be special.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, for me, the past year was the year that you had to watch him and get all your tape of what he can do. They used him at wide receiver, tight end, running back. They used him absolutely everywhere. I think he threw a few balls as well. So lots of people are saying he was used in college like Brock Bowers was used for Georgia. Not saying they're the same person, just saying that they're used the same way. So if that's the case, we saw what Brock Bowers did this year, then it's the right pick to make for them. He could be special. I've got the Atlanta Falcons, and I think they definitely need to bring in an edge rusher. They need to start getting more pressure on the quarterback. Michael Williams is still there. Jalen Walker's still there, but I think Michael Williams is the better. What, you're shaking your head?
You've gone for the wrong guy again.
What you? Don't tell me you're taking.
Get
Stewart.
Mike Green in there. That's who you need in there. We want Mike Green.
I mean,
actually, we don't want Mike Green. Don't pick Mike Green. I want Mike Green on my team. So you feel free.
Would be going well before him anyway. Your pick with the Arizona Cardinals.
Who'd you go for?
Michael Williams.
Did you go for Williams? You went for Williams. Absolutely disgraceful. You're such a big school snob.
The Atlanta Falcons taking a Georgia player. That sounds bright.
Right. So Arizona Cardinals. I think really, to me, it feels like the O-line, D-line. with the Cardinals. I mean, there are a lot of the places you could go, but it feels like O-line, D-line with this team. They so it's really about who do we like? O-line, D-line. Could go for Josh Simmons on the O-line, help Kyler Murray stay upright. Probably won't be able to see over Josh Simmons though, so that could be a problem. You know, that would be an issue. The other one who I kind of look at, who I like, it's between Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan. I kind of prefer Walter Nolan, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Grant, I think Kenneth Grant. See, this is the thing. I think this is where you see the games and you go, Kenneth Grant, Michigan has been really good.
I've watched a lot of Ole Miss this year. A lot of Ole Miss.
So I thought that Walter Nolan had a really good Senior Bowl, and I think that I feel like that's kind of where they're more likely to go. I'm going to go Walter Nolan. I think that they need the help on the D line, and I actually don't think whichever one you go for, I actually think you're in a good spot whichever one you take. But personally, I think they go Walter Nolan.
That leaves me with the Cincinnati Bengals.
What I mean, this is an obvious one, surely.
Well, their defense was absolutely shocking.
It was, but
but they might be losing T. Higgins.
There you go.
Joe Burrow is special. He could get the best out of anyone. Surely they could bring someone in later at wide receiver. You've got Jamar Chase. You've got your wide receiver one. Their defense was awful.
Their defense was awful. I will grant you that. Although it did get slightly better towards the end.
It's the reason they lost games.
It was too little, too late. I will give you that, but they did get a little bit better towards the end.
Well, you're worried that I might pick Mike Green at this pick?
No, feel free. You can go for Mike Green.
No,
I will have to kill you, but you can go for Mike Green if you want.
Why do you think that Stuart Shermer is above Nick Scornton in their rankings on this? Because I think Nick Scornton's an absolutely fantastic talent.
Do you mean Shamar Stewart?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is he above Nick Scornton? Scornton didn't have a particularly fantastic year, did he, this year?
I think he played. Texas A&M started,
but I'm talking numbers wise.
Yeah, I think.
And I know that
there's a lot of hype.
I know that Shamar Stewart wasn't amazing in the games, but he absolutely obliterated everyone during the Senior Bowl. In fact, didn't he go home early? Basically, because he destroyed everyone. Wasn't it him and Mike Green? They both just went home early because they'd done everything that they needed to do.
Where, you know what, I'd really like. You've got the Seahawks pick, and I'd really like Ibuka to go to the Seahawks.
I'm not doing that.
I think T. Higgins is. They're talking about trying to get a deal done to keep him around, aren't they?
Yes.
If that's the case and they do get it done, then I think they go defense. I'm going to take Scornton here. Leave your Mike Green on the board as well, which is probably upsetting for you.
It's very upsetting for me. I'm a little surprised that you didn't go for your guy at edge rusher.
Jack Sawyer.
Yeah.
I liked Scornton. No. I think he's a good talent.
Fair enough. I think again, it's O-line, D-line for this team is where I think they need to go. I know there's talk about DK Metcalf and him going, but
there's talk of Lockett and DK both going, isn't there?
Yeah, there is talk about it, but I don't think DK goes anywhere. There's always a lot of talk about wide receivers moving. I don't see it.
There's a lot of push on DK going and it being the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, obviously, because the Chargers do need a wide receiver and it keeps him on the West Coast. So I suppose that kind of does make sense. I think if you're the Seahawks and you're giving up someone like DK Metcalf, then things are not going right. Like, that's not... I know he's not necessarily the best wide receiver in the league, but I think it's a mistake if you start doing that, because you're basically saying we're not winning if you start giving up wide receivers like that. So I'd be surprised if he goes. I think it's O-line, D-line. I think they need an edge rusher.
Is it Mike?
I'm going to have to pick Mike Green, which is painful given that it's the Seahawks, but I do think he's the best edge rusher out there.
That leaves me with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No comeback. You were happy with edge, and yeah.
Yeah, I've got no objection. If you think that they're keeping all their wide receivers, then O-line, D-line is perfect for them. I think O-line they've done a bit of work with, and it's fine. They are getting a bit. I think when I spoke to Ben, who is a Seahawks fan and he only watches Seahawks games, he felt that they needed a bit more help at edge. So I think that is the correct pick. And lots of people love Mike Green, but you are obsessed with Mike Green, so it's perfect for you. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where do they need to go? Is this where we get the run of edge rushers? Is this when they all start coming off the board?
Yeah, I think so. I would be surprised if they didn't go edge. You could argue a wide receiver if Chris Godwin's going, but you've got McMillan.
Godwin will go. McMillan looked like he was.
He looked decent.
2.0. So I think they'll probably bring back Sterling Shepard. So they've got a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2. So to bring in a wide receiver 3, they could get that later on in round 2, round 3, and easily find someone at edge. What they've got Logan Hall. I think they are struggling a little bit at edge. They've got a lot of linebackers.
They've got a couple of free agents as well.
They've got Yaya Diaby, haven't they? That'll be around, but Levante David's probably out the door. KJ Britt and Shaq Barrett are probably both gone as well. So I think this is the run of players, and I think Jack Sawyer now for me is the one.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I think a lot of people will come out and say Shamar Stewart, but I think Jack Sawyer actually looks really good and has had a really good season. And yeah, I've got no issue with that. And I think edge is definitely what they need. I'll be surprised if they didn't go edge. I've got pick 20. I think this for the Denver Broncos, really easy pick. They need wide receiver or tight end. Luther Burden is there if they wanted to. I don't think they do. I think they're going to go tight end. So I'm going to go Colston Loveland.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick at Colston Loveland. I think for me, he was going into the process was tight end 1. He's been the most consistent at college for the last few years, bar Brock Bowers doing what he did. So it's just the fact that Tyler Warren did that one season wonder of tricks but Colston Loveland was my number 1 all the way through the process. So that's a bargain.
And we know how important tight ends are to Sean Payton and how he always played at the Saints. So yeah, it makes sense, I think.
I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Surely it's wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've
I feel that would be I mean, you could argue quarterback.
I think they'll bring one or both, or I think they'll.
You think they bring Justin Fields back? Because it feels like Russell Wilson could be on his way out.
Yeah, I think they bring Justin Fields back this. Look what he did at the start of the season and what they got out of the start of the season, and he finished with a better completion percentage than and a quarterback rating than Russell Wilson did. Which is, when you think about it and how well we were talking about Russell Wilson playing for a little stretch, I think there's a lot of upside with Justin Fields. So I think they do bring Fields back. He wants to be there. So they've got nothing at wide receiver outside of Pickens, really. We haven't seen anything from Roman Wilson at all yet, but I wasn't massively high on him anyway. Pickens is great down the sideline. That's where he does most of his work. So bringing in Burden wouldn't be the craziest of choices. Might complement well. Equally, Emeka Egbuka would be fantastic for them as well. Just trying to think back now, he never played with Justin Fields. He was more with CJ Stroud. So you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more picks before you can team him back up with CJ Stroud. I'm going to take Luther Burden here. I think, again, going into the season, he was touted as wide receiver 1, but Tech McMillan just fits the attributes of the NFL probably slightly better as an alpha wide receiver 1. So I'm going to go with Luther Burden here with the pick.
Yeah, I think it's the right move. They need to go for it at wide receiver. It's a shame. I really felt like this season they should have done. They should have gone and got someone in free agency.
Yeah, they might go and get someone in free agency in this part of it, and they might go running back here because I think Najee Harris and Warren are both free agents, aren't they? So they might go Marion Hampton and bring in a wide receiver from somewhere else. They might bring in a Debo or something from somewhere. So
right, I have got the Chargers number 22. So I think for me with the Chargers, it feels like it should be offense. That's kind of where it feels like
it should be a Marion Hampton.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It should be offense. I think like the defense was very, very good last year, and they look pretty good, and they're also quite young as well. So I don't really feel like it's much of a problem. J.K. Dobbins is a free agent at running back, and they haven't got anyone else really of any real note.
There was a big drop off, wasn't there? Once
Gus Edwards was there, but when Dobbins was injured, it did drop off a lot. Wide receiver, they've got Lad McConkey, and again, not really anything amazing. But I feel with Luther Burden now gone that you wouldn't go wide receiver. I feel like Egbuka and McConkey are quite similar. Yeah. So I don't feel like you'd want to do that. Tight end, I think they need help at tight end, but the top 2 have gone. So I think you can sort that out later on down the line. So yeah, I think running back is the obvious spot. So next best guy, Marion Hampton.
The good thing about him as well is he's an every down back, 3 down back, like bell cow, old school. Yeah. Just fits with the Chargers perfectly. I think fantasy.
And they're going to love that, aren't they? Like,
he's the perfect one for them. And I think a lot of the fantasy guys are going to be getting excited if he lands there as well. So because I think he just suits the Chargers. That's the perfect fit for him. Yep. Suits the style of play. So that is amazing. I've got your Green Bay Packers. O-line, D-line.
Well, that's what it normally is. I mean, they need a wide receiver 1.
Well, you don't need any more wide receivers. That's the point.
But then, you've given me Garrett Wilson, so now I don't need a wide receiver 1.
Yes, I have. In my world, you're getting Garrett Wilson. It's quite Walker on his way out. Is that right? No, no.
He hasn't been great. I will give you that. Let me just have a quick look. He's not a free agent, no. McDuffie is around that bit. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, cornerback's always an issue for you. It's always been.
Corner is an issue. Corner is definitely an issue. Eric Stokes is a free agent. Ballantyne is a free agent. Jair, I think that's it. I would be surprised if he came back. So corner is definitely an issue. Edge is an issue. We have really struggled to do anything when it comes to putting any sort of like pressure on opposition quarterbacks. That we do need a wide receiver one, but you've given me Garrett Wilson, which is very nice of you. And then I think it is just a case of O-line, because we just always we need a centre actually, because Josh Myers is a free agent. But yeah, we could replace a Josh with a Josh.
Where do you what? Well, not really. That would be
no, he wouldn't be centre, but I'm just saying, you know, he's O-line.
Where would you think they go? Do you think there's any possibility that they go cornerback at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's a very strong chance that they go corner. As I say,
I personally think they should go.
Yeah, I think it's very much corner and edge and wide receiver. If they go as a wide, but it has to be a wide receiver one, which makes me think that if Burden is there, they would be interested. If he's not, I don't think they go for anyone in the draft as a wide receiver one, unless they think they can get one later on, sort of thing. Corner is a big need, and they've gone corner in the first round many times. If they don't do that, it's O-line, D-line.
I'm going to go corner again. You've got to me, you've got the Thorpe Award winner for last season from Texas still on the board. I think he's a great talent. Ben Morrison was fantastic at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's whole defense was fantastic. But he got injured towards the back of the season. He missed a lot of games. He didn't see it much in the playoffs. And I think Barron's just was unbelievable. The amount of cornerbacks that played, that obviously still at college, that were good. This guy stood above the rest. Like I said, he won the Thorpe Award last year, which goes to the best defensive back in college football. And I think that's got to weigh in somewhere when you play for Texas, you win that award, and you've had such a good season. So I'm going to go with Barron for this pick. Do you think that's the right one?
Yeah, I'm not against it. Like you say, he has done really well this season, and I think a corner is something that it wouldn't shock me if they went for. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick at all.
You've got the joy of the Minnesota Vikings. So you've had the Bears, now you've got the Vikings.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll probably have the Lions in a minute. Minnesota Vikings. I think I do feel like running back is an issue, but something that you're not going to do now. I don't know how you feel about running back. I feel like once there's it's a very strong class. It's very deep. They're very good. But once you get past Genty and Hampton, I think there is a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah. So I think Henderson, for me, you can call me biased if you like, but I think he's another blue chip player. I think what his upside that he can have in a team and what the speed that he's got. I think once this guy goes to the combine and you see how quick he actually is, and how quick he can actually turn it on from naught to full speed, and that secondary speed and that long speed, I think people are going to start going wild for Henderson, because he's got that upside of being involved in. He's a great pass blocker, great running back. He's got his injuries out the way now, and he was used in the receiving game as well. So I think that one, he might be a riser, and people might start getting a bit more excited about Henderson. But after that, you've got a lot of really good, solid running backs that would work well in right situations. And I think all the rest after are situational running backs that could pop and explode in the NFL once they're at the right team.
Yeah. Right. I think I think this is another team that's O-line, D-line. I do think running back is a big need for them because Aaron Jones and Cam Akers are both free agents, but I think they push it back.
Yeah, I think bring both of them back.
Based on who is there, they don't really need a tackle.
No, they've got one of the best in the league, so
Yeah,
he just
so
got
they
injured.
don't need that. I think they need some. I think they go D-line. Have they got any free agents on?
Ken Grant's still knocking
Yeah,
them out.
that's who I'm thinking. I'm just thinking Jonathan Bullard is a free agent. Jerry Tillery is a free agent. I think they go Ken Grant. I think he's the best D-line guy left there.
Yeah,
easily. Yeah, and they will want to bring someone in there who can help with because the defense it was good, but it was I said all season I felt like it was getting a lot more praise than what it necessarily deserved, and I think someone like him would help them out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans.
Thank you. It's Emeka Egbuka, isn't it? You know, teaming back up with CJ Stroud. Yeah, those two were phenomenal together. Tank Dell's out for another year. Diggs is probably off to another team for another year. So it's Nico Collins and no one else. And we saw that last year and it struggled. And I think we'll be buzzing to get his mate back. And as I said, polished route runner from the Ohio State team. They know how to produce wide receivers. This is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there's anywhere else to go with that. And at number 26, I've got the LA Rams. And I also think it's a bit of a no-brainer here as well. Well, not completely, because I do feel like we did say, didn't we, a lot during the season that corner is a problem for them. However, I do think they need some help at tackle on the O-line. If the theory is that you're going to keep Matthew Stafford, then you need to be able to keep him upright. So I think tackle's the way forward. Losing Jackson, losing Noteboom. Yeah. So I think tackle's the way forward. Fellow Ohio State guy after Egbuka, we're going to go for Josh Simmons for the LA Rams.
Yeah, lots of talk that he's going to be recovered in time for the combine. So that's good. I think that'll real showcase him because I think he's lost a lot of value because people have not seen him. He's not been people not been talking about him because of his injury. So it'd be good to get him back. I've got the Baltimore Ravens. They are a losing edge rushers, aren't they, from their team?
Let me have a look.
Said edge a lot this podcast.
I tell you what, though, it is a real issue for a lot of these teams going into this draft that they do need it. They're not.
Oh no, they're not.
No, they're losing. No, they're not really. They're not too bad at edge, so they're okay. I'd argue that O-line. Yeah, so Ronnie Stanley is a free agent. Josh Jones is a free agent. They've got some depth pieces that are free agent. Yeah.
Do you think it's more interior that they're looking at? Because I think Tyler Booker at this point in the draft, he's easily, for me, stand out. You know, if you just want pure guard, then Tyler Booker is a cut above the rest and extremely talented. So do you think it's more tackle that they need or someone that can play both? Or
I mean, if you're... No, I think interior.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you on. Yeah, I think Tyler, but I think Booker kind of makes sense. I quite like Josh Connolly. I think he's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Josh Connolly's good, and you could also go with Cam Williams. Cam Williams is touted to be able to play tackle and guard. A lot of people say he might move into the interior, so you could tick off two. I just think that's maybe it's a bit early for him. I've got him graded as a right back end of round 1, early round 2 on Cam Williams, rather than a like sort of this stage. Whereas Tyler Booker, I think value here is where he's at. So I'm going to put Tyler Booker in. I think he's be good. They like to run the ball a lot, and I think having good guards creates holes, which creates more running space. And if you've got Derrick Henry again, he likes to go down the middle a lot. So good guards is key.
Yes, definitely. I think that's the right move. Again. Yes, I've had literally every one of them apart from my Packers. So the Lions at 28. I feel like they need something at edge. I think that's a spot that they need. They've got obviously Aiden Hutchinson, but they brought in Zadarius Smith, didn't they? But he was only on a 1-year deal, and he is getting older. So I think edge is a big need for them. I feel like they need some help in the middle, like O-line as well. So like center, guard, I think are spots that they could do with. But I feel like there's quite a few O-line guys that are still decent, and I'm not saying that they will, but they could potentially get someone reasonably okay in the second round. Someone like Ozzy Trapolo. I think he's not bad. I know, from Boston College, he might be quite a good one. As you said, Cam Williams, I think is decent. So could potentially hang on. I feel like the edges were at a bit of a point.
Their front seven was shot to pieces at the back end of the year, and they were bringing in people off of like practice squads from other teams just to try and get by in games. So I think maybe something around that, and the value that you get in at this pick would be fantastic. So
I think Shamar Stewart is the way forward for him
over Jalen Walker.
Yes, because I need him for a different team.
Do you need him?
No, I think they would like an actual proper edge rusher,
not a hybrid.
Well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've got Washington, who definitely need a wide receiver. No.
Yes.
It's listing suggestions to me all there of edge, cornerback, O-line. But I think surely wide receiver is.
I think all of them needs are needs though. Mm-hmm. They do need all of them. I just think the wide receiver we saw, didn't we? You've got Terry McLaurin, who's very, very good. De'Ami Brown, who is okay, but not really anything amazing. I feel like he's a wide receiver 3. And then you had Zach Ertz at tight end, and it's like that was all it was. So yeah, I feel like wide receiver isn't need.
McLaurin's 29 now, isn't he? Am I right? Yeah. I'm pulling it out of the air, but I think he's 29. Yeah. So he's probably not got, despite the fact of a great season, probably got 2 seasons left.
Yeah, maybe a bit longer.
Proper seasons. Yeah. They've got Matthew Golden higher. I think Matthew Golden's not the one here. I think Trey Harris for me is the next guy on the board for me to pick. What's your thoughts? Are you high on Matthew Golden over Trey Harris? I think Trey Harris is just bigger, more alpha, can fill that spot that McLaurin's going to leave. So if they're going wide receiver, for me, it's Trey Harris.
I think wide receiver is difficult now. I feel.
Yeah, you can't make an argument that
no
of the all those names that you can see on the screen, all the way down to Jaden Higgins. You can make an argument for every single one of them to be picked now over the other, and no one would be wrong. So you're right; it is difficult now to say who was the right pick and why, and if someone is better than someone. Would you say steer away from wide receiver then, or you're not getting the value here?
I don't think you're getting the value at all. Really, I mean, I like Matthew Golden. I think he's been good for Texas, and he looks all right. To me, he feels like he would be an option that they could go for. I don't think I like any of these guys in the first round. I like 3 guys in the first round.
I think if not, they go defense then for me. I think they're losing a load of people in free agency on that defense.
Yeah.
Edge rusher is surely going to be one they're going to want to jump on board. You've got the likes of the Philadelphia Eagles in your division, and you've just seen what they've done with how they get pressure on a quarterback and what they do from the edges and the interior. Just having a quick look, and for me, there's a massive name for me still on there, Princely Umelemelen.
That is a massive name. I will give you that.
Very dominant, real game changer. So I think for me, he's the guy, pure edge. I think he can play interior as well. So over Jalen Walker, who plays hybrid linebacker. So I think they take Princely.
Yeah. It's not a bad pick. I think it's the right move, and it's definitely an area that they need. And yeah, it's a good pick for them. So I've got the Bills, pick number 30. So they've got a few issues here. I think they could do with another wide receiver, especially if they don't bring Amari Cooper back. I think you could argue D-line is something that they might need. Corner as well. I know that Rasul Douglas is a free agent, so that's another one that you could go for. However, I do feel like linebacker is what they really need. Matt Milano is only getting older and is missing time quite often. And there's a very nice hybrid type of edge rusher linebacker here who I think would suit them really, really well. So Jalen Walker is the one that I'm going for.
Yeah. Do you think they might be in the mix for trying to go after Myles Garrett?
I think all 31 teams will be in the mix.
or Parsons if the Cowboys decide to move away. I think Parsons.
I can't. I would be very surprised if Parsons goes anywhere. It's possible, but I don't think he will. So I'm not really expecting that to be a thing. Obviously, Myles Garrett, I think it kind of makes sense for where the Browns are. They just need to admit it to themselves where they are. And then I think the Bills should be in for them. I think the Chiefs should be in for them. I know it sounds mental. I think the Eagles should be in for them. In for Myles Garrett. I mean, it wouldn't be insane for something like that to happen. They're in a position where, okay, they don't have loads of money, but they're in a decent spot. I think lots of teams who are sort of competing. It's certainly anyone who finished sort of like who's got pick 20 onwards. You know, anyone who's sort of like a playoff team is looking to compete. All these teams should be going for Myles Garrett and should be literally throwing the kitchen sink at them to try and get it. But
well, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs as my pick. Have had lots of.
They could do with some stronger O-line, guys. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at it, you'd probably say that isn't their biggest need. I think they're losing a load of defenders, aren't they? And that defense has been really strong for them in terms of who they're going to pay. But do they need cornerback? Do they need cornerback? No, not in my world. No. They're losing no cornerbacks. Justin Reed might go. And then outside of that, like I said, they are losing some guys off of the D line. O line, they're losing Trey Smith. Potentially, I think they should bring back Trey Smith. O line, D line. It's It's O-line or D-line, isn't it? Where's the value?
I feel now, to me, I mean, after that performance as well in the Super Bowl, it's got to be O-line, surely, isn't it? I mean, D-line, you're looking at what, Tyreek Williams?
Yeah, it'd be Tyreek Williams for me if it was, yeah.
Or TJ Sanders. I don't think you'd want to go any further down at D-line. O-line, I personally, for O-line, I'd be looking at Josh Connolly.
Josh Connolly for me, he's back end of round 1 talent, early round 2, so it wouldn't be a stretch.
I mean, we're looking at different things. They've got Gray Zabel. I don't really have Gray Zabel up this high.
I don't.
But Josh Connolly, I think I don't know how you have that performance in the Super Bowl and don't go O-line.
In he goes.
Yeah, it just.
You got the last pick.
Philadelphia Eagles. Interesting one, the Eagles. Kind of don't have any holes, as we've just seen. So it's not one that it feels a little best player available, doesn't it? Really.
Well, best player available is cornerback, and they don't need a cornerback.
No, they don't need a cornerback. That's one area that they definitely don't need. So let's have a look and see what they're losing. So
They'll be losing.
So Josh Sweat is a free agent. Brandon Graham is a free agent. Milton Williams is a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Forget about best player available. We're looking for D-line. So, well,
JT Tuilaumau.
What, you going edge?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you think Jared Campbell's good enough to go last pick? It's luxury pick. Best. He's easily the best solid linebacker. If you want to go linebacker, Campbell is good.
I'm just wondering if they go interior.
What? Well, they've got Jordan Davis.
No, hang on a minute. Let me think
Carter.
about it. So they're not going to go interior, are they? They're going to go edge rusher.
Yeah. So the current edge rushers outside of it will probably be Nolan Smith, won't it?
Yeah.
Bryce Huff's not really done anything since they brought him on board. And then, like I said, they've used that hybrid sort of Zach Bourne, Josh Sweat, Burks, sort of doing a bit of both, sort of a hybrid role. But they're all coming off the edge. So I don't know.
What actually, when you look at
okay. You can bring in Tyreek Williams because Jordan Davis won't play every single down, will he? Because of the size of it.
Yeah. I'm just. How big is Tyreek Williams? It's not massive. Well, he is massive, but not for their one. Yeah, okay. I think we go edge rusher. Kind of makes most sense, given that Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, and Williams could all go. So we're going to go edge, and
you want to.
Yeah, I think unfortunately you're probably right. Your guy is probably the right one. Tuimoloau.
Yeah, JT's in. He made it into round one.
I think he's probably the right one at edge. It feels like there's not much after it.
Can't go wrong.
So I think it's the right one.
He is absolutely fantastic. Well, that's our round one done. It's all in the books. We will get that up and put it onto social media so you can have a quick look at it. You can scrutinize it. You can tell us who we didn't pick, why we should have picked there,
laugh
what we
at
did
us,
wrong.
feel free.
Yeah, you know, it's mock 101. What I was gonna say 101. It's not 101. Mock draft 1.0. So yeah, I think it'll change a lot by the time we get to the draft. I think there'll be some different names. There'll be some rises, some fallers, combine in there as well. Keep an eye out for our player profiles as well, which will be coming out. Until then, keep it with the franchise tag and see you again very soon.